Hello guys, and thanks for joining me today as I'm playing more Microsoft FSX Flight Simulator in the Beechcraft Baron today, one of my favorite actual real-life airplanes that I've flown. I have a few dozen hours in them, and I don't know, it was always a great airplane, good power, felt good for a light twin. So, and we are doing the Resort Resupply mission this time. So essentially, it'll be narrated as we go by my co-pilot, who, he's invisible, but essentially we're flying to a resort, drop off a load of apples, then we have to go to a second airport to pick up an airplane where he's going to hop out and fly that airplane back to this airport, and I'm going to take this one back. So teamwork, and we're gonna try to get that done. So let's check it out.
Alright, the apples are all loaded up, so we're good to go. You do the flying, I'll handle the radios. Go ahead and start the engines.
Alright.
This is an uncontrolled airport, so there's nobody to grant taxi clearance. Taxi to runway 2 whenever you're ready.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna start. We already have our nav lights on. Should have our beacon on. If it's not, yeah, it looks like it is. Okay, cool. Alright, so mixture is gonna go all the way up. Looks clear left. Let's go ahead and crank the left side. We would of course call clear left before we do so. She just fires right up. Alright, checking our gauges over here. Manifold pressure is dropping, and oil pressure is coming up in the green. That's what we want to see. Cool. Alright, same thing on the right side. I'm just going to leave the mixtures full rich for now. I'm not going to worry about leaning them out. Clear right. Alright. Looking good. Okay, and we'll put our strobes on before takeoff here. And landing light. And alright, cool. I think that's it. I think we're ready to head out. I don't think we need the help.
This should be a pretty straightforward
Maybe later, but
flight.
not yet.
First we'll fly north up the valley and make 2 stops to drop off these apples at Metal Valley and Lost River. Then we'll hop west over the mountains to Sahikin so I can pick up the mall. The other new guy dead sticked in yesterday when he ran out of fuel. Had to take a boat all the way back down the lake. There's a can of gas in the back so I can ferry them all back here.
Alright, we're gonna taxi down, back taxi, and then whip around for takeoff. Alright, looking good. Flight controls have been feeling good. Mixtures, I'm going to leave full rich for now, props forward. In real life I wouldn't be taxiing with full rich mixtures, I'd just lean it out a little bit. Just helps to avoid running it too rich, any carbon buildup or anything like that.
I don't see any traffic. Let's go. Lake Chelan traffic, Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra departing to the northeast.
Alright, I need to get my strobes on. There we go. Landing lights coming on. Cool, we're all set. Oh, a little too much throttle there. I really should have looked, but Oh well, we're alright. Alright. Want to stop. We're going to give her a little bit, make sure everything comes up right. So we didn't do a run up, so. Okay, that looks good, stabilized. She's got some power. Now there's a little bit of a crosswind from the right. So it's trying to turn a little bit into it. Alright, rotate. Positive rate, brakes, gear up.
You can use a GPS to fly direct to Meadow Valley State if you want, but it's more fun to stay low and just follow the valley north. The identifier for the airport is Sierra 52 if you want to use the GPS. For now, just follow the river northeast.
Cool. I think we can do this VFR and just go ahead with following the river. I'm going to bring my props back a little bit. Cool. It's definitely our river. This would be our after takeoff checks. I'm going to turn off the landing light. We didn't use flaps,
I
but
checked with flight service and the Okanagan MOA isn't active right now, but I'll check with Seattle Center again before we enter it.
cool. We'll talk about an MOA in a little bit as we get closer. I feel like I'm a little far back here. That's better. Alright, I'm gonna just keep on the river.
I've flown this route dozens of times, but it seems more like hundreds. Maybe you can be a safety pilot for me sometime and I'll try it with my eyes closed. Just kidding.
That was a great joke. Alright. So we should, yeah, I'm sure he'll point out this first airport as we get a little closer. Just trying to get her trimmed out. Seems like a pretty good day for a flight. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about an MOA. That is a military operations area. Essentially that's used in the United States, maybe other places, but a lot in the US for designating areas where military aircraft will do training exercises and things like that.
See where the river turns east up ahead? Stop following it and fly northwest up the valley.
Cool, northwest up the valley. But they won't be doing live fire as far as I know. That would only be done in a restricted area, which is a little bit more serious than a MOA. But yeah, an MOA with, they'd be doing things maybe like aerial refueling practice, formation flying practice, mock attack things, So the thing is, in IFR, you would likely be routed around an active MOA by air traffic control. But in VFR conditions, there actually are no restrictions. Avoiding it would be very smart, if at all possible. But legally speaking, you know, you should just exercise caution. And there are no laws or anything, rules you'd be really breaking there by entering it. So that's just a little bit, add a little power back here. That's a little bit of the idea of what an MOA is and
there must be a
how
run
we
on
should treat
apple
it.
pie at these resorts. Or maybe the road's closed from all the snow we've had. It's a pretty quick trip in the Barren, but personally, I'd rather be flying the Mall into these short strips.
Yeah, Maul's a nice little bush plane. Great for short fields. I'm gonna set my heading bug. There we go. I set up this valley, so I think though
There's another airport, Twisp, just south of Met Valley State.
we need to go
I
up
made
in
the
the right
mistake of
here.
landing there the first time I came up here. Never heard the end of it. Max doesn't like his pilots wasting fuel. Maybe that's why the new guy pushed his luck.
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing in the real world. Efficiency. You're supposed to land with not a lot of extra fuel, because if you're taking extra fuel, you're heavier, and then essentially you're wasting more fuel to bring more fuel. So, I don't know. A lot of times air operators will encourage you to try to be pretty strict on your numbers and not try to take too much extra, and really just never waste fuel, like my co-pilot was just saying. Alright. We gotta be getting close to this first airport. Now he said, like he was explaining there too, there's another airport just south of it. And be careful not to go to the wrong one, basically. I'm hoping that's it up ahead. I think I'm going the right way, but to be honest, I don't totally know. Yeah, well, he pretty much said follow the valley, and that's what we've been doing. Moving along pretty nicely at 180 knots. Get a little outside view of our Barren here. Yeah, she looks pretty good. Alright, get back in the cockpit before I lose it here. Alright, let's see if we're heading the right way. Yeah.
Great job so far.
Looks pretty
Best way to
good.
get to Meadow from here is to follow the river valley to the northeast.
Cool. There's some fighters.
You see that? I think the MOA's hot. I totally forgot to call center. Keep your eyes open and I'll find out what's
There's
going
another
on.
one.
Seattle Center, Baron 71 Foxtrot Sierra.
Baron 71 Foxtrot Sierra, Seattle Center. Go ahead.
1 Foxtrot Sierra just south of Twisp. Is the Okanagan Bravo MOA hot right now?
71 Foxtrot Sierra, stand by. Baron 71 Foxtrot Sierra, affirmative. The Okanagan Bravo MOA is active this morning from 0800 to 1000 local time, 300 to 9,000 feet. JFR is at your own risk.
All right, thanks. 71 Foxtrot Sierra. Well, this isn't good, but we're almost to the airport, so let's keep going. Tell you what, we're almost to the excluded area around Twisp, so let's go down below 300 feet and hope we don't have any close encounters.
I'm dropping. don't think we want to get too much lower than this.
Whoa, that was too close. Stay below 300 feet.
Missed it. And we gotta be awfully close to that. I'm seeing
Man,
bushes
I never
down
thought
there.
I'd see an F-18 that close. I hope they were going too fast to read our tail number. We're not supposed to be this low.
Well, but we could be in the MOA, so. And technically we're not causing any undue hazard out here, so I would disagree. Alright, there's an airport over there. I'm not sure if that's the one we're looking for or the false one that we need to avoid landing at by mistake.
Okay, there's Twisp. Meadow Valley is just beyond it. The floor of the MOA around the airports is 1,500 feet, so we can climb to normal pattern altitude for the landing.
Climb up a little bit. Cool, so yeah, that's gotta be the other airport. I don't see our actual airport then yet. Oh, I think I see it up there. About 1 o'clock now. Cool, there we go.
The wind favors landing on 1-3. Nobody's in the pattern. Let's enter for left traffic on 1-3.
Too much trim there. Alright, so I'm gonna just kinda fly a little bit east of the airport here and then make a left turn and enter a downwind for 1-3. This way I would be able to see if there's any other traffic in the airport, at the airport from here. Alright, and I'm gonna go ahead with landing light back on. That would let anyone know in the area that we're here. Probably start slowing down real quick too.
Meadow Valley traffic, bearing 1 Foxtrot Sierra, entering a left downwind from the south for 1-3.
Alright, it's coming up on midfield. I'm going to drop the landing gear. There we go. Alright, so tanks should be on, undercarriages down, mixtures are forward, props forward. So that's your standard gums checks. I'm gonna go ahead with 1 flap. And there's our airport. Start bringing her around. Get a little bit slower. There we go, and let's bring this thing around. Let's not get too slow. Tighten up this turn a little bit. Airspeed's looking good, watch the altitude. It's a little steeper than you'd be really wanting to bank up here, but I cut my downwind in a little close. There we go, looking pretty good now. gonna go with one more flap down. We're in the white arc. Alright, so gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop. Coming up on short final. Let's slow down a little bit. We have our gear down in green, and we are clear to land. Uncontrolled, so we don't have a clearance actually, but the runway looks clear. Came in a little fast. I think we'll be alright.
The resort van is parked on the northeast side of the field. Taxi up and I'll help unload the apples.
Alright, let's get our flaps up so I can start getting some weight on the wheels. Alright. Came in a little fast. I'll have to really watch that at the next field. It's so much shorter. Alright, we're gonna turn around here. I think our resort van is back up near the terminal there. Let's see if I can get that nose straight. There we go. Leave our landing light on for now. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Cool. I think we're making pretty good time here. Oh, overcorrecting there with my nose. Alright, let's clear the runway. Okay. Landing lights off. Strobe lights off. Let's go head on over by the truck. Alright, this should be good.
The apples are all unloaded. Taxi back to runway 13 for our departure.
Alright, back to 13. Didn't even shut down an engine. Probably not the best practice for safety, but okay, looks clear. Looks clear, left downwind looks clear. Let's go ahead with strobe lights on again. Make sure I don't run off the runway would be a good thing. I'm not using a differential thrust, which I, of course, would definitely use in the real airplane. And all that is there's two levers on the console of it for every function. Of course, that's because there's two engines and each one has its own complete set of controls. But when you're taxiing, for instance, if I want to make a left turn, I can just put up the right throttle, and that'll add more thrust on the right side and push me through the left turn. So that's in a real multi-engine airplane, that's typically how you can make tight turns and get around and very easily and effectively. But the throttle I'm using is actually just a single throttle, so I do not have differential thrust. So it actually kind of sucks. I wish I did, but I get there. Alright, looks clear. Let's line up. Landing lights going on. Alright, one more stop to go. We'll just do a roll and takeoff this time. Alright, good manifold, good RPM. Everything's green. See if I can get back on the center line.
Meadow Valley traffic, Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra, departing northwest bound.
Alright, rotate. Positive rate, brakes. Gear up.
The border of the MOA is only about 5 miles northwest of here. If we stay low and keep our eyes open, we should be okay. Okay, let's continue northwest up the valley to Lost River. The identifier is Whiskey 12 if you want to use the GPS. Stay low for now.
I don't really have the GPS set up, and I'm actually going to make a right turn out. There's a little bit lower terrain. Alright, landing lights going off. Alright, northwest. So it looks like that's the valley up there. And since I guess we are still in the MOA, we'll keep it low. Alright, after takeoff checks. I think we're good. Flaps are up, gears up. Working on getting it trimmed. We're gonna stay low because we're still in the MOA.
There goes some more F-18s.
I didn't see him. Alright, throttle back a touch. Props coming back a touch. Now we are moving.
Uh-oh, looks like they're coming back for another look. Just keep heading northwest.
Where? I don't see anything. They're certainly not intercepting me. Gonna be close to being
According
out.
to the GPS and the chart, we're clear of the MOA right about here. Let's continue up the valley as long as the weather's okay, and let's climb to 3,500 feet.
Alright, 3,500. We're already at 3,000. Let's add full power for the climb. I kind of have cruise props in there, but I'm not doing much of a climb, so not gonna worry about it. Alright, there's our 3,500. Looks like a little more cloud cover up ahead. That can be a real problem in the mountains. Alright, we're looking good instrument-wise though. All our engine gauges are showing nice and green. Trying to hold our altitude about 3,500. Airspeeds are looking good, like 170, 180. It's actually jumping a little bit. That's probably an indication of ice. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn on all our de-ice equipment. So our pitot-static system uses air pressure to tell us our altitude and speed, as well as climb rate. And if those get plugged by ice, they'll start to move erratically, and that's why we're kind of what we're seeing there. If you look, our airspeed indicator's jumping around a little bit. That's a pretty good indication. So luckily we're in VFR conditions where everything's visual. So
the airstrip is at the junction of a couple of valleys, and it's a tight fit. If the wind's the same up there, we'll need to land to the southeast on runway 11. It's a right traffic pattern, and the turnaround is tight. Keep our speed low and use the flaps.
Alright, well I think that's it here at the junction of the valleys. They said it's right traffic, and I think it is runway 11. So if you look there on the heading indicator on the middle and turn in the heading bug, if I can get it to go a little quicker.
That's the
there we go.
airport up ahead. Looks like the wind is coming from the southeast. Fly over the airport to check for obstructions, then circle to land on runway 11.
So 11 is going to be that heading, that final heading. We're going to be going 110. So I'm going to slow down here a little bit and start. This is just a flyover, and this is what you definitely would do in remote airports to make sure nothing's on the runway. Yeah, this is very good practice that you should always do. You never know, there could be animals, there could be people parked there because they didn't think anyone would
Lost
be
River
coming.
traffic. Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra is overflying the airport to maneuver for a right downwind to land on runway 11.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, so we got to start slowing down, so landing gear will definitely do that for us. Alright, so it's right traffic. Let's get a flap in there. Basically, I maneuvered over a little bit, and I'm going to swing it back around to the right and try to line up. Speed control is going to be extremely important on this one. I'm actually going to even go out a little bit further here. Give myself a nice easy turn. Probably be getting some wind off this this ridge, but alright, I don't want to climb too much. Let me get the nose down. Tight turn. Speed looks pretty good. Coming around. There's our valley. Alright, looking good. So I'm going to slow her down. I had a little nose up trim. We're gonna go ahead and drop our flaps, our full flaps. Alright, gas is on both tanks. Mixtures are forward, undercarriage is down, did a little out of order, props forward. Alright, looking good. Let's get quite a bit slower. I'm gonna want to be about 90 knots, I think, here, ideally. We're definitely fast. Oh, she came out of that turn real nice for me. We're floating. Flaps up. We're slowing down.
Good landing.
Nice.
This one's a bit tricky.
A little bit. Alright,
Taxi up to the resort to unload the apples.
where's the mall? Did I put on my landing light that time? I guess I did not. I think the resort's back on the other end of the field. So when we're taxiing, this would be a soft field taxi technique. And essentially all that means is I would, as I'm doing now, holding aft on the controls. In this type of airplane, a tricycle gear, you want to keep as much weight off the nose wheel during a taxi over a softer surface, because if that nose wheel digs in, it could cause some damage, or worst case, even collapse it. Alright, there is the building, we're almost there. And at least we'll be in position to take off here. And I guess maybe we have one more stop. I thought this was the where the airplane that we're picking up was too, but apparently there is one more stop. So, alright, well, that's alright. There's our strobe. And I'm just going to turn right around at the resort here. Cool.
Okay, you're just about rid of me. Just a quick hop southwest over the mountains to Stehekin State. If you look at the GPS, its identifier is 6 Sierra Niner.
Alright, heading
Let's take off to the
southwest.
southeast on runway 11.
Alright, well, since we're going out to the runway here, got all our lights on. I don't see any traffic. One notch of flap down. Alright. Let's go.
Lost River traffic, bearing 1 Foxtrot Sierra departing to the southeast.
Alright, gear up.
None of the valleys lead to the airport, so we'll have to go over the top at some point. Might as well climb and fly direct to the airport.
Alright, looks like we need to go southwest. Alright, we got good altitude. I'm gonna let my nose come forward. And flaps up. Landing light is off. And we just gotta get up and over these mountains.
Keep climbing as we head down the valley. Once we gain some altitude, you can turn southwest and head for the airport.
Alright, I'm gonna back the throttle off just a touch. And just a little climb prop in. Well, I need a southwest turn here at some point. I think I'm getting close. Yeah, there we go. Hopefully it's down this way. Let's take a quick peek. No, it does not. Glad we looked. There we go. Alright, so over this ridge apparently. Trying to stay VFR, so trying to stay out of these clouds. I'm not sure we're gonna clear this ridge that well either, so I'm gonna leave an out to the west side if needed. We got a little altitude to, or airspeed to play with though, so. There we go, we're getting around this little cloud bank. Alright, doing pretty good. Let's see altitude wise where we're at. Looks like we're going to end up a little IFR here. Really trying to avoid that as much as possible. Not only would that be illegal, very unfamiliar terrain here. I think we're heading the right way. Yeah, it's around those clouds up there. Let's go ahead and bring our mixtures back a little bit. Let's go about 88. There we go. Should give us a little more power that way. Let's see if we can sneak around these clouds. I wouldn't say I'm going in them. Never lost sight. Not sure. If I could bring up the GPS, I would.
Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra base.
1 Foxtrot Sierra, go ahead.
We just had an interesting chat with some military folks. Seems they didn't like you participating in their training exercise. Max is pretty upset about this.
We didn't do anything wrong.
Base, say again, you're breaking up. Having some radio problems here.
1 Foxtrot Sierra, I'll keep it short. You're in big trouble.
Roger, Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra. Don't let that worry
Yeah,
you.
looking
There's
good.
a shortage of pilots. What are they going to do, fire us? Don't answer that. It was a rhetorical question.
Alright. Moving right along here. Looks like we're over most of the peaks now. Try to level at about 8,500, I think. Pretty quiet up here now. I think it's just over this ridge. Looking pretty good.
This runway is shorter and the valley's even tighter than the last one. Use the same technique and we should be fine. Let's land to the south.
Alright, let's see if we can find this strip first. Just to give us an idea, it's about 4 miles off our nose. I'll descend on through this way. Gotta gear up there because I brought the throttle back further than it thought I would in normal flight, and it gave me a gear warning just to remind me that not to land with my gear up. Alright, I'm gonna throttle back even further here. We got a pretty good descent. We're gonna land to the south. If I could be in position to land would be great. I don't think there's much chance of that happening. there's our river, but I don't see the field. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's it. That's our runway. Okay. I'm gonna swing around here. Go up the valley a little bit. Still got plenty of
Beacon
speed.
traffic, Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra, landing runway 13.
Alright, it looks clear. Alright, let's drop the gear. That'll give us some drag. One flap coming down. Okay, I think we're good. Gas is on, undercarriage down, mixtures and props. I really gotta watch the speed on this one. So controlling speed through this descent is gonna be extremely important. I'm just gonna go ahead and dirty up with one more flap. So we have both settings for full flaps, gears down, in a full dirty configuration, which allows me to descend pretty rapidly here. And there's our runway. We're landing runway 13. So it's on a 130 final heading. And it looks like there's trees pretty much right to the end of the runway, so once we clear the trees, we're gonna just drop down a little bit from there. Alright, we gotta slow down. I want to hold about my 100 knots, that's my blue line, in case I had any engine issues. But we gotta be pretty slow here. Add a little bit of power. Looking good, I think I found where I want to be. Coming in a little steep. Looking good. Gotta clear the trees. Alright, throttle's all the way back.
There's the mall.
Flaps up.
Good landing. Taxi over to the mall and I'll gas her up.
Made it. Over to the mall. Strokes off.
Okay, see you back at Chelan. Just follow the lake all the way to the southeast and you'll be there in no time. The airport's just northeast of the end of the lake. And don't worry about the thing with the F-18. I'll smooth it over when we get back.
Cool. Alright, well, it's just us at this point. And one more stop, which is just getting this thing home. So, let's make it happen. I don't think I can do my own radios here, nope. Gassing up the mall. And we're gonna taxi to the end of the runway. Strobes on, landing light on. I'm just gonna, well, actually I'm gonna shut off all my anti-ice stuff here in a second. I'm gonna try to, get as much runway as possible here. We just follow the lake out. Alright, I'm gonna turn off all my anti-ice stuff. I probably should have before, but okay, looking good. All our lights are on. Let's see, fuel pumps. Okay, cool. Everything looks good. And I'm not sure when the mall's departing, but let's go ahead and add 1 notch of flap. Make this the soft field takeoff. And actually going to mix a little short field technique in there too, I think. So let's give it a shot. Looks clear. Alright, we're going to stop here. Hold our brakes. About half throttles. Okay. Engine instruments look good. Full power. Off the brakes. We're going to try to lift off as soon as we can. Gear up. Let's get over the trees. Try to climb right about at blue line. Alright, flaps up. And it looks like we have an engine problem. Mixtures, props, throttles, heading blue line.
I'm still on the ground, but it sounded like one of your engines just quit.
Yep.
If your other engine's
Flaps
good,
up.
you should be fine to press on the Chelan.
Pumps on.
I've flown on one engine in that plane lots of times. I guess we could do with some better maintenance around here. If I can catch up with you, I'll fly down to the lake to see how you're doing.
Alright. I'm gonna make a little left turn here. Alright, so we lost our left engine. This is a bit of an issue. Let's attempt to restart real quick. I put the fuel pump on. Oh, getting a little slow. I'm not sure if it actually feathered. Let's see if we can get her in feather. Yeah, she's done over there. Left engine is done. Alright, so we're going to pitch for blue line. We're going to secure the left engine. Pumps are on. So let's talk about what is blue line. Blue line is what's known as VYSE, which means it's our best rate of climb, single engine. So if you look on our airspeed indicator, right at about 100, there's a little blue line. That's what I'm pitching for. That's going to give me my best rate of climb or slowest descent, hopefully climb, on one engine. So that's what we have going here. Luckily, I do believe my engine auto-feathered is kind of what it seems happened. So,
Yep, the left engine quit, just like last time.
yep.
The right engine's never given me any problems. You'll make it back just fine. Matter of fact, I'll race you.
This guy's great. So, basically I'm doing a pretty good climb here at blue line, plus a little bit. So, I'm gonna hold that as long as possible. And, I'm also splitting the ball. So if you look below the little artificial airplane, so below my airspeed indicator, There's what's called the turn coordinator, and below that is that little black ball that's sliding left and right down there. That's the inclinometer, and what that is, it tells us how coordinated we are. And normally we want to keep the ball in the cage, you want to keep that as centered as possible through most of the flight. But in a case of a single engine situation, or a one engine inoperative multi-engine, you want to cut that ball in half. And what that does is it just more aligns the body of the airplane with your direction of travel. It's called a zero side slip. So I'm not going to go any deeper than that in it, but I'm sure there's tons of videos explaining that out there. But that's essentially what I'm trying to do, and that's giving us our best climb here, really, that we can get. And we have, looks like, 36 miles. Alright. That's going to be a flight. The problem is, too, we have to climb this whole way. Otherwise, we're not going to make it. We have to clear the ridge at some point, I think. And it was like 8,500 feet to get over it before. I'll be honest, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get that high. I think our single engine service ceiling is gonna be a little bit lower, or the absolute ceiling. Still getting a pretty good climb though. If we could end up getting a low point in the ridge or something we can climb over, we'd be doing great. So notice too, to get the zero side slip, I didn't really mention, I have that ball cut in half, but I also have a tiny bit of bank in there. Typically, for a light twin airplane, it's going to be about 3 to 5 degrees of bank that you would need to produce that zero side slip. And that's pretty much what we're getting now, and it's doing pretty well. I mean, we are gaining altitude still. Luckily the Baron is a pretty tough airplane. Good performance. But yeah, at this point I'm just trying to hold it. Trim can help. A little bit of aileron and rudder trim. I actually don't have much rudder trim, or much rudder in there at all at the moment though. Alright, well...
Base, Mall 163.
Base, go ahead.
Yeah, the Baron lost the left engine again. It's limping home, so you'd better get the shop cleared out.
Roger 163. We'll be ready for him.
Well, that was nice. He called ahead for us. Actually, still climbing alright here. Let's see where we're at. Still, it's going 32 miles ahead. Little extra airspeed. So if I have extra airspeed, I could always convert that into more altitude. Just means I'm not flying my blue line as well as I could be. It would just be nice to be able to go a little quicker. And the faster that we go on one engine, the more it actually is going to perform like a normal airplane. Arrows are airplanes, of course, are like arrows, or like I can't think of the word. The things that align into the wind, like a windmill, I guess, sort of. But just, of course, in their shape, they're going to align with the wind. So with more speed, it would naturally want to hold a better course without all this correction in it. But right now we need all the altitude we can get. Climb right's definitely slowing down. we were getting, you know, definitely a few 100 feet a minute, just a few miles back. Cool. There we go, it's coming back a little bit. This is a big lake. So I think the airport's just at the end of it. Now we're getting a real good climb here. Might be in a bit of an updraft off the ridge. So I'm just trying to ride that upper. There we go. Up to 4,500 feet. That's really not bad at all here. And light twins are notoriously not great on one engine. They're not very overpowered to begin with in most cases, and when you lose an engine, you would think, you know, you would just lose half your power or half your performance, but you do lose half the power. You'd think you just lose half your performance, but in reality you lose more like 70 to 80%. And
looks like we're building up some ice. Better turn on the FIDO and prop heat. Use the boots too if you need to.
There's the ice. I wouldn't really want to have that stuff on unless I need to on one engine. It's just drawing more from the electrical system and everything else, but of course if you need it, that's what it's there for. And ice is certainly not something you ever want to mess with. I have a few stories about that. Not so bad in an airplane that can handle it, but I've been in some, you know, small GA planes that picked up some ice, and man, with your loss of performance and everything, it gets scary real quick. Now all of a sudden we're getting a little bit more performance out of it. So I'm gonna just try to ride that up. And we're getting like a 500 foot per minute climb. That's really good. Might be some ridge lift. And we're just about to 5,000 feet. It's pretty good. Let's check our progress here, 24 miles away. Still getting pretty good climb performance. It looks like our anti or de-ice systems did pretty well at getting rid of the ice. I do still have the fuel pump on too. At this point that's just to assist the left engine, or the right engine I should say. I got a little too much rudder in there now. my foot got a little heavy. Man, this would have been a short flight on 2 engines back to the airport there, but it is sure a lot longer on 1. I'm just not exactly sure how much altitude we're going to need to clear the ridge. Almost to 5,500, but definitely struggling here a little bit at this point. She's having trouble gaining a lot more altitude now. Kind of coming in spurts, I guess, here, if anything. Getting a little slow. Well, I should probably talk about that real quick. One of the scariest and, of course, most dangerous things in multi-engine flying when you're on one engine is getting too slow. That can induce a loss of control called a VMC roll. And VMC simply means your minimum controllable airspeed. And basically, if you think about it, you know, if you only had one engine, let's say you're sitting still on the ground and you try to take off with only one engine, probably won't work. And the reason is, as you throttle up to try to go forward, you're only going to produce a lot of side load for the most part. And if you do that, what's that descent? And that airspeed. That side load is not going to let you go straight, you know, of course. If you try to just throttle up, for instance, the right engine, it'll spin you in a circle on the ground. So the same concept happens in the air if we get too slow, and simply that it will flip us over. The right wing would, if the right engine's operating, flip up and over, and we would go into a vertical dive, essentially like a spin maneuver. And in some airplanes, it may be unrecoverable, you know, based on the design of the airplane. I've heard stories of recovery, and I've also heard stories in some airplanes where they didn't. So I think the idea is really just to avoid it and watch your airspeed and not get too slow. In any case, let's say you did VMC roll, recovery would take a lot of altitude. And as far as I can imagine, I've never embarked on a VMC roll myself, despite teaching a lot of multi and doing a lot of VMC demonstrations. But if you do it right with good procedure and standardized techniques, a lot of these things can be very safe. And of course, the idea is to teach students how to recognize and the feel of a VMC situation before it onsets and how to correct it. Well, we're going through this cloud here. Would like to not be IFR, but it's okay. It just means I have to use my instruments a little more diligently. I'm thinking we have a little bit lower terrain off to the south, and I'm not sure if what's ahead of us is going to cause us any problems or not. So I'm pretty sure the airport is off our nose, but I think it might be advantageous to go a little bit south where the terrain looks a little lower. We've been in a very steady climb here this whole time. Slowly making it. Watching that airspeed. Yeah, I can't really see what's in front of us. Makes me a little nervous. That's how you have what's called a CFIT accident, CFIT, and that stands for Controlled Flight into Terrain. And it's essentially when someone flies an airplane into the ground that's under control. And the reason that would happen is usually loss of situational awareness, and a lot of times due to things like flying IMC in high terrain and being unfamiliar. Those are all factors that could lead to a CFIT incident. Looks like I'm cautiously optimistic here. This may be our last big ridge before the airport. So that's what I'm going for. And then once we clear it, I think we're getting close here, 10 miles. We can talk about how the single engine approach is going to be a little bit different than a normal approach. And of course, when I keep saying single engine, I'm saying a multi-engine airplane flying on a single engine, not like a single engine airplane that only has one engine.
5 miles southwest of Chelan, inbound for landing.
Yeah, the mall is beating us there. Not surprised. Alright. It does look like the terrain is dropping a bit here, so I think I can safely start coming down a little bit, but altitude's going to be my friend here. I do not want to come down too quick. Alright, there's our airport over there. Okay, more or less have it in sight. And a little nose down trim. Now we're flying definitely a little bit better here. So as I come in, couple of things to consider. Essentially, you know, in a big overpowered airplane or a big just sleek airplane that has a lot of thrust to weight, I could likely go around and not have too much of an issue. However, in a light twin airplane, as we said,
163, turning final Chelan.
They suffer a lot from being underpowered. So if we try to go around, especially when we're close to the ground on one engine and slow, we'll likely have, again, a CFIT situation where we'll lose control and flip over. So a point being, number one, as I'm coming in, I'm going to stay a little high and a little faster than normal, just because the opposite would be low and slow, and on one engine I don't want to be those things. Two, I'm not going to dirty the airplane up with gear and flaps until I get to where I'm very confident I can make the runway with minimum power. And then finally, as I get close, I always told my students within a few hundred feet of the ground, usually like about 300 feet for a hard number. Okay, cool. That's where you're committed to the landing, and at that point, you know, there's going to be no go around. Essentially, if you absolutely had to, you know, you could try it, but odds of you losing control are pretty high and having a VMC situation, so I wouldn't recommend it. And I think I have the runway over there. And the wind all day has been from the southeast, I think, so we've been landing on like 1-1 and 1-3. So So I just throttled back, and that helps a lot because with less power on that engine, it's going to push less. And that would then mean I need less control against it. And of course, if I just throttle that all the way back, you know, it's essentially like a normal gliding airplane at that point. There's a little bit of asymmetrical drag, and also, of course, I'm going to get a rudder swap at the end on landing, but that's nothing I'm going to go into too much now. So there's our runway. We definitely did make it. We gained a lot of altitude along the way through a good zero side slip coordinated climb. And actually, I'm almost a little high and fast, but I think for now I'm looking about where I want to be. I can use engine power if need be. That's no problem. And ultimately, I want to put my flaps into and make this as normal of an approach as possible. But again, I just don't want to get super dirtied up and then worst case scenario end up low and slow and not making the runway. But I don't think that's going to be the problem here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and drop the gear. Dirty her up a little bit.
Foxtrot Sierra, I have you in sight. The pattern is clear and the wind is a direct crosswind at about 12 knots.
Great. Alright, and we have the runway made here. I'm going to go ahead with one flap. I don't want to come in too fast is almost my concern at this point. So gas is on our main tanks. Undercarriage is 3 green and down. Mixture is forward, props forward. The other one is still stowed away. And let's see if we can slow her down. Getting that white arc on the airspeed indicator. Get that other flap in. We got it made all day now. Actually, I might want to do a little bit of slip. There we go, coming out. Definitely a little fast. I'm going to S-turn just a touch here. We're going to put her down. Well, not my prettiest, but
Baron 1 Foxtrot Sierra, welcome back.
kept her on the runway.
Maintenance hangar and we'll get that mechanic right on it. Won't take long. We need that airplane for some flights this week. Both engines are ready for an overhaul, but we can get a few more hours out of them.
That's awesome. Alright, guys. Well, came in awfully fast on the end there. Not my prettiest approach, but we are safely on the ground. And we're good to taxi in. So thanks so much for watching. If you guys stuck with me through this whole video, I appreciate it. Any questions, comments, anything at all, I appreciate it. So thanks for sticking with me, and see you next time.